A very good afternoon to all. Myself Rajeev Bedi. I am working as assistant professor in Department of CSE, BCT Gurdaspur. Today I am here to deliver a lecture on basics of programming in C++. This lecture will be useful for all the students of first and second semester under the course FCPIT, that is Fundamentals of Computer Programming and Information Technology. So first of all, have a look what is C++. It is basically a high level programming language. First of all, let us discuss what is the character set of C++, means what are the different characters that C++ supports. So it includes alphabets, digits and special symbols. Alphabets means capital A to capital Z and small a to small z. Digits means 0 to 9 and some special symbol like question mark, colon, hyphen, brace, square bracket. Now there are some programming terms. So first programming term is token. Token is basically the smallest individual unit of a program, like variable, constant, keywords, identifiers, literals, operators and some escape sequences. So first token is variable. Variable, as the name denotes, whose value varies, means that is not static, not constant, and technically you can define it as it is the name given to a memory location where any constant value is stored. Like for example, here I have assigned a value 5 to n. Same value 10 to n means n is a variable whose value can vary. Second is constant. Constant means static, means that never changes. It has different types like integer constant, real constant, character constant. Integer constant means without decimal number like 5, 12, 15, etc. Real means number with decimal value like 4.3, 5.4, etc. And character constant, a character could be an alphabet, a special symbol or a digit, but always enclosed in single quotes. As in this example, this is an alphabet, a digit or a special symbol, but always enclosed in a single quote. So next is keyword. Keywords are basically some special words whose meaning is already defined in C++ compiler as different data types, conditional statements, loops, storage classes. These all are different keywords like int, char, float, long, double. These all are the data types. If, else, these are used for conditional statements. Do, while, for loops. Break and continue statement, auto, static, register, extern, etc. These are different storage classes. So all of these are keywords. Their meaning is already defined in C++ compiler. So next special word is identifier. Identifier is basically a sequence of characters that always starts with an alphabet and basically used to define the name of a function, array, class, structure, etc. And there are some rules for defining identifier name, or there are some rules for defining variable name. As first rule is the name of identifier always starts with an alphabet, no blank space allowed, no special symbol except underscore. So these are different rules for defining identifier name or a variable name. Next is literal. Literal is basically a value given to any type of variable. For example, if we have assigned a value 5 to an integer type variable, that is called an integer type literal. If we have assigned a float type value to like 1.2 a float type variable, that is a float type literal, and 7 this is a character type literal. Sorry. Operators. Operators are basically used to perform operations, and different categories of operators are like arithmetic operator, relational operator, logical operators, bitwise operators, ternary operator, increment and decrement operator. So first category is arithmetic operators. These operators are basically used for arithmetic calculations like plus, minus, multiply, divide, modulus, assignment. So first operator is used for addition, then for subtraction, multiplication, divide. It basically returns quotient. Modulus, it returns remainder. And the last one is assignment. This is called assignment operator. Next category is relational operators. These operators are basically used to describe the relations between variables like less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, not equal to and equal to. Next category is logical operators. Basically we have three logical operators. One is logical AND, logical OR and logical NOT. When you have to check the multiple conditions, that at a time the multiple conditions have to true, then we can use logical AND. If we want to check only one of the multiple condition is true, then you can use logical OR, and for the complement you can use logical NOT. Next category is bitwise operator. These operators are basically used to perform operations on bits. These are basically used for internal operations like bitwise AND, bitwise OR, bitwise NOT, left shift and right shift. Next is conditional operator or ternary operator. Symbol is question mark and colon. Next category is increment operator. This operator is basically used to increase the value of a variable. It is basically divided into two categories. One is pre-increment and another is post-increment. Pre-increment means first of all there is an operator and then operand. And in case of post-increment, first of all there is an operand and then operator. In case of pre-increment, it will increase the value of variable first and then it used. And in case of post increment, first of all it will use the initial value of variable, and the next time it will increase the value of variable by 1. By default it will increase the value of variable by 1. Next category is decrement operator. It is basically used to decrease the value of a variable. Same category is pre-decrement operator and post-decrement operator. In case of pre-decrement, first of all there is operator and then operand. In case of post-decrement, first of all there is the operand then operator. Now next, data types. Data types are basically used to define type of a variable, which type of variable that is. Basically we have two types of data. One is signed and another is unsigned. Signed means having both positive and negative values, and unsigned means having only positive values. Here I have described it in the form of table. First column describes the name of data type, then range and then memory occupied. So first data type is signed int. If you want to declare a variable of integer type, you can use this type int. Signed means having both positive and negative values. By default all of the data types are signed, so you can skip this keyword signed. So range of integer is, if you declared a variable of type int, you can enter any value between this range. Means minimum value is -3 to 768 and maximum value is 3 to 767, and the memory occupied by an integer type variable is 2 bytes. If you want to enter any decimal number, you can declare a variable of type float. Its range is -3.4 into 10 to the power 38 to +3.4 into 10 to the power 38, and memory occupied is 4 bytes, means 32 bits. 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. Next is, if you want to declare a character type variable, its range is -128 to 127 and it will occupy 1 byte of memory. Character, in case of character, I told you earlier that character could be an alphabet, a digit or a special symbol. But here in this case I have described its range in the form of integer only. Why so? Because each character is having its integer value, that is called ASCII code. That is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. That's why I have described this range in the form of integers. Next, if you want to define a number, if you want to declare a variable in which you want to enter any number which is more than this range, you can declare that variable as long. Its range is double than int, means as in case of integer, if you can enter a value maximum to a digit of 5, in case of long you can enter a number of 10 digits. It will occupy 4 bytes of memory. If you want to enter a decimal value more than this range, you can declare a variable of type double. Its range is double than float. Sorry, by mistake it is written double. Its range is double than float and memory occupied is 8 bytes. So by default all of these types are signed, means by default all of these having positive values as well as negative values. So this signed keyword you can skip. If you want to declare a variable of unsigned type, you have to give this keyword unsigned before the data type name. In case of that, the range minus range will add it to the positive values. In case of that, like this, in case of unsigned character, its range is 0 to 255 and it will occupy 1 byte of memory. Means if you want, in case of any program you want to enter only positive value, you have to declare the variable of type unsigned. So these are different data types. Next, what is the concept of header files? These are basically some predefined files having extension .h and having some predefined functions in it. Like iostream.h is a main header file which is used in C++ programming, that is input output stream. And what is the syntax to include a header file? That is hash include angular bracket then name of header file dot extension of header file. Here hash include is preprocessor directive, iostream is name of header file, and .h is extension of header file. Now next, what is the use of main function? It is basically the starting point for execution of a program. When you execute any program, the compiler will first search the main function. So it is basically the starting point for execution of a program, and syntax for main function is int main, then body of main function and number of statements. By default, main function will return integer type value. So that's why I have specified return 0. You can return any integer number. Now input output statements in C++, basically we have used cin, that is console in for input, and cout, that is console out for output. Cin with this operator, that is right shift, and cout with left shift operator. Here I have discussed an example. Suppose you want to write a program to add two numbers. First of all, I have included two header files. One is iostream.h, another is conio.h, that is input output stream and console input output. There are some predefined functions that are defined in these header files that we are going to use in this program. So here I have defined a function main because it is the main function from where the execution of a program starts. Then void is basically a keyword which specifies that this function doesn't return any value to the compiler. Here I have declared three variables. This is basically the syntax of variable declaration. First of all, there is a data type name, then space, then name of variables. If you want to declare multiple variables, then variable name, comma, second variable name, comma, third variable name, and so on. Then semicolon. Semicolon is basically used, it denotes basically a statement terminates here. So here I have declared three variables a, b and sum. A and b for to use to input two numbers, and sum used to store the value of result. Here I have used a predefined function, that is clr_scr. It is basically a predefined function which is defined in conio.h, and its function is used to clear the output screen. Here with the help of cout, that is console out, I have print enter two numbers. This message will be printed on the output screen, enter two numbers. Then with the help of cin statement, I have entered two numbers, first in A and second in B. Now I have to add these two numbers. So for addition, I have a plus operator. With the help of plus operator, I have added these two numbers and the result is stored in sum variable. And with the help of cout statement, I have displayed the result sum is equal to. The statement in double quotes will be displayed on the output screen as it is, means sum is equal to, and with the help of this variable, the value of the sum variable will be displayed. Suppose when it will ask enter two numbers, when you execute this program, the control first goes to this main function, then to the first statement. Here it will allocate a memory of 2 bytes to each variable because it's an integer type variable, so each variable will occupy 2 bytes of memory. With the help of clear screen function, it will clear the output screen, then control moves to the next statement. It will display enter two numbers because the function of cout is console out. Then with the help of cin, suppose we have entered two numbers, one is 2, another is 3. Then with the help of this statement, these numbers are added, means the sum value of sum will be 5, and it will print sum is equal to 5. GetCS, it is also a predefined function whose use is to get a character. It basically gets a character but doesn't echo it. Echo means display. It is also defined in conio.h. Now, so next is, in this program we have seen that the sequence of execution is one after another. First of all, first statement executed, then second, then third, and so on. So if you there is no control structure in this. If you want to specify some control structure in a program, means like condition statement, loop, anything else, you have to use the control structure. These are basically used to control the sequence of execution of a program. So different control structures are like conditional statements, loops, break statement, continue statement, switch case statement, go to statement. So first control structure is conditional statements. Basically we have three conditional statements in C++. One is if statement, another is if else statement, and last one is nested if else. Nested means block within block. The syntax of if statement is, if you want to specify some condition in a program, the syntax of if statement is if parenthesis, then condition, then close the parenthesis, then body of if statement and number of statements. Means it is interpreted as if this particular condition will be true, then the control moves in this block and execute these statements. If this condition will false, the control directly moves out of this block. So it is interpreted like this. Next is if else statement. Syntax is if parenthesis condition, then body of if, then else body of else. Means if this condition is true, this if block is executed, otherwise else block will be executed. Next is nested if else statement. Nested means block within block, means you can define a if else statement within another if, like in this case there is one if condition and this if else block is defined in this if. The level of nest can be up to any level depending on the program. As I have shown in this example, like suppose if you want to write a program to find largest of two numbers entered by user. So first of all I have declared two header files, then a main function, then body of main function. Here I have declared two integer type variables, then I have used a predefined function, that is clear screen, used to clear the output screen. Then with the help of cout I have printed a statement that is enter two numbers. With the help of cn, two numbers will be entered, first in A and second in B. Now with the help of if else statement, I checked if A is greater than B, then print A is largest, else print B is largest. So this is how you can use the conditional statement in a program. Next, if you want to, in case of conditional statement, you have seen that in this case, if the particular condition true, the number of statements will be executed only once. So if in a program you want to repeat some statements again and again, you have to use the loops or repetition structure. So basically in C++ we have three kind of loops. One is while loop, another is do while loop, and last is for loop. The syntax for while loop is, first of all, there is initialization, means you have to give some value to a variable, then while parenthesis condition, then body and number of statements, then increment or decrement operator will be used with that variable, means the value of variable will be increased or decreased according to condition. So first of all you have to initialize a value of a variable, then specify some condition, then the statements you want to repeat, and then increase or decrease the value of that variable according to the condition. Next is do while loop. Syntax for do while loop is, first of all there is initialization part, then do, body of do while, then number of statements, increment or decrement operator, then while and condition, then semicolon. The main difference between while and do while is that in case of while, if this condition is false, the whole block will not be executed once, and in case of do while, it will execute the whole block once and then it will check the condition, means if the condition will false, the same block will be executed once. Next is for loop. The syntax of for loop is for, first, then parenthesis, first of all there is initialization, then semicolon, then condition, then semicolon, then increment or decrement, and body number of statements. Means first of all you have to initialize the variable, then the condition will be checked. If the condition is true, this block will be executed, then the value of variable will be increased or decreased according to the condition. Until the condition true, the number of statements will be executed again and again. So these are different loops. Next control structure is break and continue statement. Break statement is basically used to exit from a control structure. The syntax is break and semicolon, and continue statement is basically used to go at the beginning of a loop, and syntax is continue. Next control structure is switch case statement. It is basically used when we have multiple cases with us. and syntax is switch, parenthesis, expression, then body of switch, number of cases, case 1 colon number of statements, then break statement, then case 2 colon statements, break, number of cases, then at the last you have default, then number of statements. What will be the value of this expression? That particular case will be executed. Suppose the value of expression is 2, then the compiler will go to the case 2, it will execute the statements, and with the help of break statement it will come out of this control structure. Here in this example I have used these different control structures. First of all, I have included two header files, iostream and conio. Then in main I have declared a variable of integer type day. Then with the help of clear screen, the output screen will be cleared. Here with the help of cout, I have printed a statement enter a number, m colon, this is basically a symbol, I will tell you later. So with the help of cin, the value of that number is entered in a variable day. I have passed this variable day in switch statement, and here we have multiple cases like case 1, here I have print Monday, then break, case 2 Tuesday, break, case 3 Wednesday, case 4 Thursday, 5 Friday, Saturday, and at the last I have a default case where I have printed sorry please enter number between 1 to 7. Suppose when you execute this program, the control moves to the main function, it will clear the output screen, ask you for enter a number. Suppose you have entered a number 2, the 2 is passed in this switch statement, the control will move to the case 2, it will print Tuesday, and with the help of break statement it will come out of this switch statement. Suppose when it will ask enter a number and you have entered a number, suppose 10, then it will check for case 10. So we don't have any case 10, so it will go to the default, it will print sorry please enter number between 1 to 7, and with the help of go to statement, go to statement is basically used to move the program control from one statement to another statement. So it will move the program control where this label is defined. So it will move the control to this statement. It will again ask you a number and you have to enter a number between 1 to 7, then it will execute. So this is how you can use this control structure in a program. Here I have described an example. Suppose you want to write a program to find sum of all digits of a number ended by user. You have to enter a number in a variable and you have to print the sum of all digits of that number. You can find the sum of different digits of that number only if you first separate the different digits of that number. So for that you have to divide that number by 10 and find the remainder of that number, and that remainder you have to add to some variable sum, and the new value of number would be the quotient of that number. So in this case I have described this. First of all, I have included two header files, iostream and conio. In the main function I have declared two integer type variable and initialized one variable sum to the value 0. With the help of clear screen it will clear the output screen. Here with the help of cout I have printed a statement enter a number. Suppose you have entered a number in n, that is suppose 1 2 3 4 5. First of all, with the help of while loop I have checked while this number is greater than 0. Suppose number you have entered is 1 2 3 4 5. So in this case 1 2 3 4 5 is greater than 0. So condition is true, the control will go to in this loop. I have divided this number with 10 using modulus operator. I have told you earlier that this modulus operator, it will return you the remainder. So suppose the number is 1 2 3 4 5, when you divide this number by 10, the remainder will be 5, the last digit of that number. I have added this remainder value to the sum variable. That's why I have declared, I have initialized this variable with 0 because here I needed its first value. So that's why I have initialized it to 0. So first value of sum is equal to 0 plus 5, it's 5. The next value of n means number is number divided by 10, means this divide operator, it will return quotient of that number, and in this case the quotient of that number is 1 2 3 4. So next value of n is 1 2 3 4. So it will check while 1 2 3 4 is greater than 0, the next value of remainder is 4, the next value of sum is 5 plus 4 9, and next value of n is 1 2 3. So these statements will repeat until this condition is true. When this condition becomes false, it come out of the loop and print sum is equal to its value. So this is how you can use the loop in a program. Here I have described one more example. Suppose you want to write a program to find factorial of a number. So first of all, I have declared two header files, then main function. In the main function, I have declared two integer type variable n and f. N is basically I have declared a variable to enter a number, and f used to store the result. I have initialized the value of f to 1. With the help of clear screen, it will clear the output screen. Then with the help of cout, I will print a statement, enter a number, and with the help of cin, a number is entered in n. Suppose you have entered value 5. So the logic of factorial, basically, you know, suppose you want to find the factorial of 5, it will be 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Means you have to decrease that number with 1 and multiply to the number until the number is greater than 1. So that's what I have written in this C++ language. While the value of number is greater than 1, I have multiplied that number with itself and decreased the value of number with 1. Suppose in this case, suppose you have entered the value 5 in variable n. So first time it will check while 5 is greater than 1, condition is true, so control will move in this block. The first value f is 1 into 5, 5, and the next value of n is 4. Next time it will check while 4 is greater than 1, so next value f will be 5 into 4, 20, and value of n is 3. Next 3 is also greater than 1, value of f is 20 into 3, 60, and value of n is 2. 2 is also greater than 1, then value of f is 60 into 2, 120, and the last value is 1. 1 is not greater than 1, so condition is false, it will come out of the loop and print result is equal to 120. So the factorial of 5 is 120. So next topic we are going to discuss is function. Functions are basically, you can say, it's a set of statements which may or may not return value, or its technical definition, you can say function basically facilitate the design, implementation, operation and maintenance of large programs. These are also called methods or procedures in some other languages. Like in Java you call methods. It allows programmers to modularize a program by separating its task into self-contained units. These are basically statements, and function bodies are written only once. It enables a divide and conquer approach, and these are basically reusable in other programs. Different types of function are like library functions or predefined functions, user defined function, inline function and friend function. So first category is library function. These are basically some predefined functions whose functionality is already defined in different header files, as we have already used in different programs like clear screen, it's a predefined function, getch, it's a predefined function. These all both of these functions are defined in conio.h header file, it's a console input output. So I have given some examples like clear screen, getch, square root, it's basically a predefined function which is used to find square root of a number, and it is defined in math.h header file. Exit, it is a predefined function which is defined in standard library.h header file. It is basically used to terminate the program. Next category of function is user defined function. These are basically defined by user according to their need. So there are three main things in this. First is function definition or implementation. Next is how to declare a function, means function prototyping, and last one is how to call a function. So first one, how to define a function. If you want to define a user defined function, this is the syntax. First of all, there is a return type, then name of function, then parenthesis, then number of parameters and number of arguments with their data type, then body of function and number of statements. So this is the basically syntax which is used to define a function. How to declare a function. Syntax for declaring a function is return type, then name of function, parenthesis, number of arguments with their data type, and then semicolon. And the last thing is how to call a function. There basically we have three methods to call a function. One is called by value, another is called by reference, and another is last one is called by address. So first method is called by value. Syntax is function name, parenthesis and number of parameters. In case of call by address, syntax is function name, address operator and number of parameters. And in case of call by reference, syntax is function name, parenthesis and reference of object. If you want to pass any object to a function, always its reference is passed. So in that case,